fucking gas.
We're at Icon, we're back, Q&A, I'm gonna sign the fucking wall.
You better let us sign that wall.
I'm gonna sign the goddamn wall.
Better do it, dude.
Yeah, we're back, we're doing a Q&A. I went here, so it's really, really a big deal to be invited back to be able to do a Q&A.
It's a big full circle moment.
Giant circle.
You know what I'm saying?
Huge.
I wish I would. I wish I
No,
came
you went
here,
to
dude.
Citrus, dude.
You
It's
know?
okay, bud.
Shout out Citrus.
Citrus. All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
So we figured that what we would do, I'm an Icon graduate. Fuck this thing. I'm an Icon graduate.
Yeah.
So I went over to Guitar Center Hollywood, and that's where I met Parker. Parker was already working there. And for me, I went into it and I was like, you know what, maybe I should just refocus back on music, right? And I was feeling very insecure about my music and about my abilities. And fortunately, I saw this guy hustling on, around the sales floor, like a badass sales guy. And it was Parker. And I was like, that guy's going somewhere. I'm going to go with him. Like, that was my thought process. Like, whatever that guy's doing, I'm going to do it with him. And we just kind of started working together. You know what I mean? We just started showing each other, our tracks, and we were kind of gassing each other up. Like, hey, this is really good. And
this is like right before you went to Icon, too.
This is right. Yeah, right before. Sorry, I had to rewind and kind of give you guys the backstory. But I had met Parker there, and, we had both had aspirations to get ourselves out there as music producers. We're like, hey, we want to be music producers and, eventually be artists, but we want to work with a bunch of people. We want to win fucking Grammys. We want to do all this shit, right? So that was like same mindset. And for you, I don't know if you want to share about like the studio and how that kind of started.
Oh, yeah. So it's weird. I started at the West LA store as well, but just at a different time. So me and Danny never met there. So we met at Hollywood. Just like he said, we started sharing music. I was doing more like rock and like metal stuff, and I started getting into EDM. You were doing a bunch of like big room stuff and like really like
hell yeah,
all of that kind of stuff. But we started splitting deals together. We started like hustling like the actual store side, making money together, and then we just started like doing music like in the back on our breaks, showing each other, getting each other excited about what we were doing. And like, I don't remember it being anything too crazy like what we were sharing with each other. You know what I'm saying? But I think it was more of like, we started this like team, kind of like a system of checks, like, hey, how's that track coming? And it's like up in the back of our heads, we were thinking about, oh, we get to show this off. Like when we get to the store, like I'm so stoked we get to play it on giant PA speakers, it was like our club, It
was almost like a little bit of accountability to each other too, in a weird way.
Yeah, totally. So that was really cool. And then I started a recording studio while we were at Guitar Center, and that was really hard. So I started that with like a bunch of other partners, and I was working at Guitar Center at the same time. So I was kind of like double dipping, and I was trying to get the studio going, and we were trying to like figure out like how to get people to come into the studio, how to book sessions, how to do all of that. So I had a big engineering side. I had engineered with a bunch of big artists before I started the studio, but the studio business was like super new, and like, we didn't know what we were doing. But I was just talking with Danny, and we were like kind of, just throwing ideas around. And what we really wanted to do was like, what we're doing right now is like, we're throwing an event. Let's get like 20 or 30 people to come in and just teach like what we know, teach engineering, teach, production, teach as much as we know as an event. And then we were like, well, how are we going to get people to this event? Like,
how are we get people to come? Nobody knows who the hell we are.
Yeah. So then, then we were like, oh, let's start a YouTube channel. Let's figure it out. We were watching all these other people do tutorials and sound design, and we were like, oh, we could do this, And I mean, dude, how long did it take? It probably took maybe 1 or 2 months of like trying to figure out
how to actually record, and like we had people that had helped, people that have come and gone as far as with Excellent Sound. And I mean, it took us about, I want to say 3 months just to figure out how to like record on our like laptop. Like we didn't know what the hell we were doing at all. And we had like one guy who was like kind of nerdy and he like knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so he would help us out a lot. But yeah, we couldn't figure it out, but we stayed determined. And I remember having a conversation with my girlfriend too at the time, and I was like, she was like, why are you going to this, to the studio on every like Wednesday or something we would do to film? She's like, what are you doing this for? And I was like, I don't know, it's like fun, and I feel like it would help get our names out there. I had just finished Icon 2 at this point, so I was just trying to do something. And what ended up happening was we just kind of kept grinding the YouTube, and we started seeing a little bit more success. We started seeing a couple more views. I mean, it's been a slow grind. I don't know if you guys have seen our channel or been around with us for a while, but it's been an insanely slow grind with like subscriptions and all that stuff.
Yeah, we had our first like 100 views on the first video, and we were like stoked.
Yeah.
We were like so pumped.
Yeah. And then the idea came in is like, okay, well, what if we were to, at that point we were getting better at sound design. We weren't even, I remember the first video that we did, I had no idea if it was right or not. I was just like, I think I could do this sound. I remember I remade like a different Nightmare sound that like didn't even sound like it, and I was like, this is it, like let's put it up, right?
Yeah.
And then we decided to put out a sample pack. We said, hey, we got we had like 500 subs at the time, and said, what if we are able to put out a sample pack? It sounds like a good idea. How do we make money in the music industry, right? And at that point, all your studio partners started dropping off. They all started
crumbling.
They all started just leaving, and Parker's left with this insane amount of rent. So I'm like, hey, I think if we do this, it'll bring in some residual income, and if we keep doing the YouTube, it'll get our names out there. I've seen people like Virtual Riot, people like Company, people like Cymatics. A lot of those producers, they were kind of getting their name out there, and I was like, hey, this is kind of a different route of going than your just classic like, hey, I'm gonna get out of Icon, I'm gonna do a bunch of remixes and try to get noticed and try to hopefully get my songs to blow up, which isn't a bad route, right? I'm not hating on that at all, but it's a very difficult route. And we had already had friends and people with bigger artists, and I'd been working with Borgor at the time, like sound designing for him, and what I realized is that nobody's gonna do shit for you at the end of the day, right? Like people I love all those people. I love Borgor. I love at the time Dubs.
It's not even a fault to them.
No, it's
either.
not. It's just kind of the way it is that you have to make people want to fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? And the way that you do that is that you make noise, right? So we just kind of kept doing our thing, and I remember worrying about what this DJ would think about me doing YouTube tutorials, or this producer like being like, oh,
there was a whole thing about that. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't cool to do tutorials.
Yeah.
It's not, it's weird. Like, you can't be telling secrets. Like, it was a whole big deal, and everybody was telling us not to do it.
And I felt like, oh man, I'm gonna like whatever. I didn't have anything to worry about, but I was like, what kind of, am I fucking myself over by doing this? And eventually I just got sick and tired of it. I was like, fuck it, I'm having fun doing this. I get to do it with somebody that's like pumping me up. It's really important that all you guys have your Icon people, people that you guys work with, that you guys stay together after Icon, because having somebody to be accountable to, or just to have somebody to give you feedback that you trust, is really, really important, because this game is fucking hard. You know what I'm saying? And we're all fucking insecure. I'm insecure as shit. You know what I mean? Like, I constantly am, we're all tortured artists at the end of the day. So having somebody like that has been very helpful. But anyway, we kept going, and the video started getting more plays, and then I started, we put out our sample pack, and I think we sold I think it was like 20 copies or something like that.
Yeah, like barely 20 or something.
But it was 20 copies. There was 20 people that bought it, and then it started getting a name for itself. And we continued to make more videos, and in slow grind just kept doing it, and we're like, hey, this is actually doing something. And then it became about, how do we build hype for ourselves? And I think that that's a big thing for you guys, is like, how do you build hype for yourself? How do you market yourself as music producers, as business owners? And there's a lot of ways that we've kind of tried and failed, and most of the time we were pretty successful, as long as it was a genuine idea that we thought was cool. If you end up doing that and following whatever you actually feel like is the right thing to do, you'll be successful, at least in our case. And I think that's the same for you guys. So whatever it is you like and who you are as a person.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had a bunch of people in our ears telling us what was cool and what wasn't cool. And like, it was very confusing at first, you know, because when you don't know what you're doing, you're listening to your peers and their opinions. And at the end of the day, exactly what you're saying. If you think something's cool, it's cool. You know, you're going to find people that are interested in what you're doing if you think it's cool. Like, you know, what's something that's like not cool? Like Pokemon cards or something? Fingerboards, you know?
Yeah.
If you somehow tie that in to your music and you honestly, genuinely think that like it's cool, people are gonna see that. They're gonna see the honesty behind it and how cool this little section, like this little niche thing is.
That makes you you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, because there was a lot of focus, and they talk about it at Icon too, about like branding, you know what I mean? And like making sure that you brand yourself. And then I got all these other DJs telling us to make sure we brand ourselves. What's our brand gonna be? You know, trying to think about all this shit. And then, you know, it was kind of causing me a lot of like anxiety. Like, I'm like, I don't know, like what is the brand? Maybe I should, you know, my last name's Ferrari. Maybe I should be like a mafia guy or something. Like, you know, I was like, this is, you know, maybe this is, you know, maybe it's like, you know, I had some ideas, but none of them were me. And what I ended up finding was that the less that I worried about it and the more I just did what I liked to do, the more it kind of naturally came.
That date, dude.
The date?
With the wall, bro.
I'm fucking the date with the wall. Sign the wall. I told you I'm gonna sign that fucking wall.
You told him.
Pretty well on the file, don't you? There you go, that's what matters, yeah. Yes, thank you for saying hi, bro. We're gonna sign that fucking wall, yeah?
But you know what you're about to do?
Sign
that fucking wall.
Thank you, Vito. I made that shit happen, bro. I forced you guys.
No,
give me that pen.
You're planning on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Sign that fucking wall. It was like Conor McGregor, where he's like, "You better have those 2 belts, Big Sean, for me." Where is it? Where do we go?
Just sign any wall.
Just any wall.
Just start signing everywhere. You got a deep tap. Sign the fucking wall.
Like the Inception.
Parker, where are you feeling?
Right? I'm feeling we should do like eye level.
We do the signature? Okay. Sign the fucking wall. Oh!
Let that star do.
Like that.
How do you feel,
Kayla?
Danny?
Thank you.
I blacked out. I don't know what happened.
You blacked out in the booth.
Wow. The big moment.
Big moment.
There it is. Hey, big moment over here, guys.
Big moment. I signed the fucking wall.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Danny, how hard is it? 6 to midnight. The Parker's arrived.
I got Parker.
Yeah, I just got his.
Yeah, I'll just do group text.
Send me all the bags.
Uncle Vito gets whatever he wants. Don't call you Uncle Vito?
Send this thing like over all the years, everybody like, you know. I don't know, it's like a love-hate thing. Yeah, B's good.
I got you.
Successful Q&A.
Sign the fucking wall.
Sign the wall. Most importantly, roll the clip.
Song's the fucking guy.